Hi, Internet. Hey, you know what? I was feeling sort of bad because I was getting really down on Star Wars. The Force Awakens. If you followed my review, you could tell I was very disappointed in that it fell short of its potential. So what I decided to do was be proactive and productive and show 7 ways that I could think of making that movie better. 7 easy ways, actually. And I didn't really take a long time to think about this. Now, keep in mind, this is coming from the standpoint of someone who's had Star Wars as a part of their life since they were an adolescent. And I've used Star Wars. I love what George Lucas created. I love Star Wars. I really do. I love the canopy of the universe. I love how it feels, the ideas and the nuances and the implications of so many of the things which are taught in the Star Wars universe. It's really, really, really beautiful. The aspect of a force which to me electromagnetically, that's the force, right? It's the same force that drives my consciousness, that holds everything together, that builds stars and planets and plants and animals and everything in between. This is what is presented by a movie like Star Wars, right? This is the subtext. This is the foundational material from which everything else arises, all the conflict and the story and the nuanced interactions between the characters. So this is kind of the direction from which I am coming, as I'm sharing my ideas of what would make the movie better, or the direction that it could have gone. Now, keep in mind that while I am aware and personally utilize Star Wars canon from comic books to the novelizations and everything in between. Specifically, when I talk about Star Wars with friends or students and utilizing it as an example, I stick strictly with the 6 movies, but also with the animated series that bridges the gap between Episode 1 and Episode 3, so that you can see the presentation of that war, right? And with the decline of the Old Republic, there's so much that is gained in there. For your entertainment, I'm going to put lots of clips of the Clone Wars animated series so that you can see just, kind of visually what's being presented as I go through and point out my points. All right? So, with that said, let's go ahead and hit the list here. My top 7 ways for making The Force Awakens a better movie. Alright guys, here are my 7 easy ways The Force Awakens could have been a better movie. 1. Absolutely no use in any way, shape, or form of a space-based platform of death, doom, or otherwise. This includes satellites, moons, planets, or stars. This method of galactic governance has repeatedly shown to be too expensive and too vulnerable to continue doing. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Do it 3 times and you're just being silly. If you must have one in the story, then you must give us some backstory and explain how this one is in some way going to be better than the previous 2, given that those in power are keenly aware of the failures of such military installations. 2. Recognize that the Force is not the exclusive domain of the Jedi or the Sith, nor are their various approaches to be considered the best means of accessing and wielding the Force. There is literally a whole galaxy of peoples out there who are also living in and with the Force. The last 6 movies established that the old traditional ways of the Force have ended with the calling of the Jedi and the eventual overthrow of the Sith. Now we have room to explore other means and ways the Force manifests within the universe. We can still have an awakening of the Jedi and Sith, but everyone else can now awaken as well, as that the prevailing dogma of the Jedi and Sith was concluded and deemed a hokey religion. As it stands, the Force didn't really go to sleep, but rather seemed to be snoozing a little because Luke is still available and there is a well-established Sith presence. So where is the awakening? The real awakening would have been for those suppressed by the Jedi and Sith to now come out of the woodwork and show the richness and infinite diversity which the Force manifests. 3. If we must reestablish the Sith and the Jedi orders respectively, then let's have some fun with it and do some galactic-level exploration. Don't just hunt down Luke, who is likely unaware of the rich history of the classic Sith or Jedi. Go to the source. Han Solo would really have been utilized to his fullest here, and we could have seen a sort of Harrison Ford homage to Indiana Jones as he helps those seeking the Force find their way among ruins within the Old Republic. Remember, the Old Republic lasted for thousands of years. That leaves a very big footprint, and an even bigger vacuum later when it is absent. The Jedi were only centered in Coruscant, but for them to be truly effective, their temples and other edifices would have been spread across the galaxy. Even if they were abandoned, in only 30 years there would yet be millions who had personally had interaction with the Jedi. Gangsters, politicians, priests, teachers, regular civilians, and countless droids all had interaction with the Jedi. So either more time between eras needs to be established, or more realistic attention to the significance of the ancient Jedi presence as keepers of galactic peace must be paid. 4. Instead of beginning with Kylo Ren being fallen, show us his fall. Demonstrate how the dark side of the Force is at all seductive. Anakin Skywalker literally spent his entire life leading up to his fall, and most who elect to go to the dark side are not doing so out of ignorance, but out of genuine appreciation for what can be learned and experienced by utilizing the skills and techniques available to dark side Force wielders. Without showing the audience the true nature and properties of both aspects of the Force, as well as the countless philosophies that could reside between those two polarized opposites, we cannot truly appreciate one's apparent fall or ascent to the dark side, leaving Kylo Ren about as two-dimensional as you get. 5. Bring back a clone or two from the original Clone Wars. You know there are literally hundreds of thousands of them out there. It is even established that there were many who were not fully affected by Order 66 or rejected it entirely. Find those guys and have them talk about the Jedi. By the end of the Clone Wars, there are still plenty of them training as children, so they would be available, as well as those who may have been in their 20s or 30s during the Clone Wars. These clones provided protection and support for the Jedi across the galaxy, and it is certain that they would be aware of the ancient Jedi sites as well. In addition to the clones, droids are an ever-available source of historic intelligence. In the Clone Wars series, droids are used to teach the Jedi how to manufacture their lightsabers. In fact, David Tennant lends his voice quite wonderfully as a droid who teaches young Padawan learners how to make their swords. This particular droid in question boasts being 900 plus years old. Now how about finding one or two of those immortal treasures and awaken the Force with them? 6. Recognize that it is well established that there are some Jedi who have learned how to return from the cosmic Force and interact with those of the living Force. This means that Yoda, Anakin, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Qui-Gon Jinn are all available to those who can unlock the keys to their manifestation. Furthermore, there are yet those who taught them how to come back, as is seen in Season 6 of the Clone Wars animated series, where Yoda is led by Qui-Gon Jinn's voice to quest for this knowledge. If one does not wish to go in that direction, there are yet those living who have managed to stay under the radar and survive the calling of the Jedi. Ahsoka Tano, Anakin Skywalker's only apprentice, and Asajj Ventress, the apprentice of Count Dooku, both survived the Clone Wars and would likely still be alive. Utilizing any of these resources would have made The Force Awakens a much better movie. And finally, show us the galaxy. Show us what has become of the Empire and how it has returned to the Galactic Senate. Show us more of why we have come to love the Star Wars universe. Take us to the ancient homeworld of the Sith, Moraband. There are yet Sith Lords there who have also learned to come back from the cosmic Force and interact with the living Force. And if not them, then All that they have left behind is yet at the disposal of those who would dare to seek this ancient wisdom and knowledge. Imagine all that could be learned and experienced by showing the audience the rich, beautiful, and varied textures of the galaxy and its countless peoples and the Force. These are just 7 ways The Force Awakens could have been a far better movie. Instead, we're falling back on the story of a singular family played against the canvas of a galaxy. That's fine, but the truth is, there are more people out there than merely the Skywalkers. Perhaps it is time to pick up another thread, another story, and tell that one. All things move on and evolve into their changed form. Families, dynasties, and empires all rise and fall with the passage of time like the tide. After all, that is the way of things. That is the way of the Force. So for the Force to truly awaken, this natural cycle must also be taken into account, recognizing that other ancient bloodlines, other than that of Skywalker, may also rise to the surface, as the hearts of the children once again turn to their fathers, seeking to understand themselves in the search of this ancient wisdom. All right, guys, that is my 7 ways, easy ways that the Force Awakens could have been a better movie. If you have any ideas, please feel free to share them in the comment section below, and I'm always interested in starting a dialogue down there. And in the meantime, have fun at the movies, have a wonderful holiday season, and Happy New Year, and I will be talking to you guys soon. Until then, may the Force be with you, and may all of your efforts be prosperous. Talk to you later.